Yeah, let's go do what we did last time. So close your eyes, plant your feet on the ground, and touch the person next to you. And so, just to recap, so the idea is to put yourself in this frame of mind that we called the phenomenological reduction, where you're basically trying to keep as close as you can to the actual experience that you have. So what you're doing is something like this Descartes meditation, that you doubt everything around you. But this time, in the original, the first Descartes meditation, the point is that you say, I cannot deny the fact that there's a thought somewhere, and I'm the thinker. In the second version, it's a dubito ergo sum, namely that you doubt everything. And a thought is a real event, and it requires a thinker. A doubt is not a real event like a thought. Nevertheless, through the doubt, you kind of feel that you are already pressuring against something, and this pressure that you're actually creating in your frame of mind becomes the foundation that you're going to build everything on. And because this way, you are not reflected inwardly, but outwardly. So we are back to this idea of that what you cannot turn off is the sense of connection to something else, and you are emerging with a state of mind of being a being in a world that has other being, and between them there's a strong connection. Okay, so now you can relax and let's continue. The second thing that was introduced last time, with my little dramatic touch, is the light that comes into the world. And the light picks up some things and not other things. And these create two phases, two metaphysical phases. One where you can show yourself, or things can show themselves, and the other one where they cannot. These are two phases. And so light is required for things to show themselves. And as I was saying, quoting last time, phenomenology is concerned with self-showing things, with things that show themselves. So the light is required for things to show themselves, and therefore to a certain type of phenomenology. Now here I just want to kind of warm a little bit that let's stick to literally the idea of a world with being, and there's light and there's darkness, and not to immediately start creating association that light is good, the darkness is bad. We want to go to the light because it's the good thing. We want to avoid the dark. Stay away from this kind of metaphors, and just really stick to the basic idea of a world with different beings, and then there's a light going around, and it picks up certain things and not others, and when it does, they show themselves. Now, so it would be kind of interesting if the phenomenologies are right, and the issue of light and darkness and transformation of light and darkness have such a strong metaphysical significance. It would be strange if this type of interest would not be reflected in culture. What I would like to talk about today is Baroque painting, where the interest in the the duality between light and dark is very obvious, and it kind of remains since part of the most important aspect of the discussed in art history. The interest in this very sharp delineation of the light aspect and the dark aspect is called chiaroscuro, that you probably heard the term before, and the Baroque era was the best artist of the Baroque era, Caravaggio, Rembrandt, and Velázquez. The three of them, with all the difference, they were united in the interest, fascination even with the issue of a world that is made of some light part and some dark part. This is basically the point. And when you look at this interest from a phenomenological point of view, I think that it can really solve some mystery that maybe you had. You were asking, well, why is the interest in chiaroscuro so strong? Why is it so that painters were so fascinated by that? So someone would say, yeah, because chiaroscuro is dramatic. But the point is, what is the drama? It's dramatic if the underlying drama is the drama between light and darkness. It's not that, chiaroscuro is inherently dramatic. The transformation between darkness and light, if it is a drama, the way the phenomenology said, then when the Baroque artists were using this theme of between the light part and the dark part, then they piggyback on the drama of the basic metaphysical drama of a reality that's made of some light parts, some dark part, and light part where things can show themselves. So the first thing to say is that the world of the chiaroscuro is a polarized world. In other words, polarization, like in photography, is that the points are reduced with the points of light or of darkness, while in reality you sometimes find grades of gray or gray scale. So the first thing that you need to do is to create polarization, either through lighting or there are many ways to create polarization and to eliminate the gray area. So when you have an image like that, it's very clear that some parts are revealed by the light and some remain in the darkness. That's a Caravaggio painting. Let's take a Rembrandt painting. So that's another very familiar image, Dr. Tulp. And here the effect of the chiaroscuro is even more strange, because here it looks like there's some kind of a ray of light. There's like a card game in a ray of light, so it looks like a vision. Here it is really somewhat, I guess, if you have like an anatomy theater, you need some strong light source, so maybe that's how you can read it. But this one, it is just to look at part of reality that reveals itself to us. And this part of realities itself is a patchwork of light area and dark area. I guess the one thing is clear that in an image like that, it becomes clear that the light area, the distinction, or let's say the boundary between the light and dark area is unstable because the slightest movement of the face can take some parts from the darkness to the light, and vice versa. So it is really, what these people are doing there is they really are focused on another part of the world that has been revealed. This one is an internal part of the body that was hidden before. So what you have here is a kind of a double unconcealment. You have the whole thing is unconcealed, to use the term of Heidegger that we spoke about last time. And what you see in their faces is the fascination with looking at a new thing that has been unconcealed in front of their eyes. And this is something that happens quite often in the Baroque, these type of Baroque images, is that the people inside the drama are themselves, like the viewers themselves, are fascinated by how the world reveals itself to them in those patchwork compositions. So let's go to Caravaggio. See if we find, he's the third. Great. This is another well-known image that has this kind of focus on how something is revealed from the darkness. I've never seen this part. Actually, I don't know what it is. Yeah, let's look at this. So this would be another famous Caravaggio painting that I guess David, I guess it's David and Goliath, probably. David is unconcealing, is revealing with his hand to the viewer something. So here is again this kind of repetition. The subject matter is the revelation of something a little bit revolting, a little bit horrifying. So again, we have to kind of reflect a little bit on this fascination with the world as it is, that you can have fascination also with ugly and horrifying things. That's another thing that is kind of the Baroque is full of examples where the viewer has to confront the fact that the fascination with what the world reveals of itself can be towards things that are should actually receive less attention because they're almost painful to look at sometimes.
Just fun fact that I think the Golia is like it's Caravaggio's face. Like,
yes, I think you're right. Actually,
so it's pretty funny.
Yes, that's true. So it's kind of the artist reveals himself.
Yeah.
Also, that's true. Very good, very good. And we can really ask ourselves the question a little bit more generally about the fascination with the way the world reveals itself to us as somehow disconnected from any kind of moral considerations, but it is a very strong and motivating force. So there are really two things to talk about. The first is when the world reveals itself, that we look around. We spoke about the photographers going around with the camera, looking for parts where the world reveals itself and kind of aiming to go there. So we can ask about that, like this basic idea of going around in the world looking for places where the world reveals itself, to cases of unconcealment. And then this is, we shall talk about today. And next time we will talk about portraiture, that is about how certain people show themselves, like very deliberately. So there's a whole structure around the idea of someone. It's not just the world reveals itself somewhere, but it is a person who decides to reveal herself or himself. And what you see is really exactly this, as a kind of this metaphysical transformation from the phase of darkness to the phase of light, which is actually portraiture. So that we are going to talk about next time. Today we will talk about just the much more simple idea of just like going around looking for light spots to kind of get whatever they reveal to us. And the topic, the most direct topic to talk about is still life. What you have here is, again, it betrays the same interest in chiaroscuro. So it is, again, the implication is when you see like a still life that has this chiaroscuro element, is exactly this situation of a dark world, and some kind of a spotlight picks up a bunch of things without any rhyme or reason. And what we see here is some kind of a recording of the most random and seemingly unorganized corner of the world that is revealed to us through light. This is kind of the issue of still life, especially Baroque still life. Now, some of them, this one is really special in the sense that the artist really tried to convey the randomness of the arrangement. So there was already like an answer to the question, was there any intentionality involved in putting this stuff that way? And the answer is not really. Maybe a little bit. Maybe there was some kind of arrangement, but then it was disrupted later. So really, just look at this image and really ask yourself, why are you so fascinated by, a bunch of stuff that's just laid out there, does not betray any particular intentionality. And when you recognize your own fascination, then the answer, the phenomenological answer, seems like the only game in town. What you are actually fascinated with is this very basic fascination with the unconcealment of the world. That you are like looking at this painting as if you are really looking at a spotlight in a dark space that reveals something, and it's kind of up to you to make something out of it or not. But what you, I guess we just cannot get enough of this sense of revelation of the world revealing itself to us. Actually, I made some still life myself, and I used a lot of contrast and stuff, so I was really thinking a lot about this issue, about the fascination with still life. And so there's always, so the question is why still life? So first, there are some answers about that we like cheese in reality, so we like cheese also a little bit in a painting. But I'm not so sure that it works that well. That would be kind of one type of answer. Another kind of answer would be that it's like a theater of object, you know, that the objects become like figures and you can kind of see it almost like kind of the direction of a puppet theater or something like that. Maybe it's possible to see it this way, but I would say that if it's a kind of a theater, it's the theater of beings. It's not like theaters of, you know, the object don't take the character of a protagonist exactly. They really remain what they are in this situation. Let's look at a few others. Also, it really defies any kind of intentionality, because another thing would be to say, you know, that somebody like gracefully arranged the object, so the arrangement is so graceful that when you look at it, you kind of get the gracefulness of the arrangement. Maybe it works in some cases, but not here, for example. Then another answer would be the more kind of the formalist answer would be that that still life comes close to a form of art that is really about colors and shapes and maybe volumes kind of arranged in space, where the significance of anything else is kind of not that interesting. So someone said that it's kind of a weird step towards abstraction, or more formalist type. I'm not so sure what I think about this either. I'm just like giving you all sorts of answers that people suggested, and if you have other answers, you know, you can volunteer. So now, sometimes the objects themselves are nice, sometimes they are not that nice. Does it make a huge difference? I'm not so sure. This is really quite a charming painting, although it's not that. Let's find some other stuff here.
But you know, and that's what, at least what I learned, because we have quite a lot in the Gemäldegallery.
Yes.
Academy, which is fascinating. And what I learned right in the beginning in the course when I was a student was really the question of death in this.
Yes, memento mori. Yes.
And especially in the Netherlands, that was important because these paintings were bought by very rich people, and the fruits which are displayed are just those were just for really rich people. And basically they were shown in a way that basically the painter told you, yes, life is great, but these things.
Everything is transient.
And it's totally transient. And the funny thing is, when you look at the paintings at the Gemäldegallery, when you look closer, that's really the point in this whole thing is you find little insects crawling around there, and basically the whole thing is already in decay. And so the moment of death is it really makes sense. And also with the cheese and especially those with I mean, some you have the scones, the skull, or even there's one beautiful at the academy with which was at the butcher, obviously. But there you can really see it already smells. So,
you see, if we're talking about specific iconography like the skull, sure, and like if you have like fresh fruits or fresh, then you'd say the transience of that. But then you have some that, oh yeah, this one would be like the glass, you know, that spills, you know.
Here you have this.
Like this
already
one.
collapsed, you know.
And as you were saying, this was, these were painted for wealthy Protestant merchants who were very much versed in like the Bible, and they knew all these things about the transience of life and all that. Yes, absolutely, that's true and very important to say. Except that so the question is, if it were like an art form that is just like a bummer, you know, that it just tells you about the end of everything, the decay. I don't know if it would be that popular. I mean, I think that what you need to postulate is something like a fascination that then is somehow negated. So the question again is, what is the fascination? What is the other thing is like the other answer, both to your point, is like so you take two from different categories, like this one and that one. And then you ask yourself, so this one is clearly the transient of everything. This one is like knowledge, lore, maybe eternal stuff or stuff. However you look at them, they should be very different. And yet, the fact that they have these different objects doesn't make them so different. You know, not different enough if it were a question of whether they really convey the issue of death and how they do that. Anyway, I'm just talking about all those different ideas about still life is introduction to a phenomenological interpretation. That what you see here basically, I mean, first of all, as I was saying, this is a chiaroscuro world, a polarized world. So what you see here is like really like a assemblage of parts. Some are dark and some are light, and that basically the initial fascination is this type of fascination. We just cannot get enough of like looking for a space, a part of the world that genuinely reveals something. And now there's a question of what does it mean to genuinely reveal something? But this is the point about those paintings, that they genuinely revealed something, and they seem to be records of an earlier episode, whether it was constructed or natural, that the world revealed this situation before. So there's like a genealogy of points where the world reveals itself. It's just, and I want to open it up a little bit, because if I'm right about this, that this would be a very, very strong argument, in my opinion, to really think about art phenomenologically, because I think that it reveals exactly what phenomenology says. You know, we're kind of going in this world like a big a ray of light, and you kind of go there, look at what's there. And this is like the basic way that we move around in the world. And this is, for me, a very kind of strong argument that kind of proves it, because otherwise it would be a little bit difficult to understand why still life painting would be such an important genre. So I want to open it a little bit, if you...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was also quite the lowest
Yes.
form, and there were much like higher viewed as ways to convey similar themes like history painting. Like
Exactly.
Or
Do you remember the hierarchy? The lowest was still life,
Yeah, the lowest was still life.
and then there were animal paintings,
and history,
and then portraits, and then history
Yeah.
painting. Yeah.
Yeah, and like in the Netherlands, all of these paintings with like the prostitution or the like house where everyone is eating. Obviously, these are also very good ways to convey the same theme, but I think sometimes when one looks at the stuff and it's like, oh, they did it to show death, they did it to show this and this. I think sometimes they said this also as an excuse to just to do something they were interested in, like for example arrangement of colors, and then they do the bouquet of flowers, and they can put like this one, like with the colors of the.
This one or that one?
No. Yeah, like.
Yeah, let's look at this
the
one.
Highest one. The highest one.
The highest one.
It's
Yeah.
quite almost abstractional color.
Yeah. Yes,
theory,
I mean.
and they're like, oh, but then they put the death flowers, and they're like, yeah, it's about death and stuff, but maybe they just wanted to experiment with the painting and like the detail of stuff.
So yeah, this is a really good point about, because the question is how much does it involve beauty? Because what Kant would say, Kant talks a lot about the natural beauty of how we go around and we see like a flower or a beautiful bird, and we don't know what the name of this bird or flower, we don't own it, we don't even like the colors that much, and yet we look at it and we are totally like overwhelmed with this sense that we are encountering something beautiful. So that would be like one way to take it. Now, generally, phenomenology has a kind of a weird thing about aesthetics, because on the one hand, the ideas are kind of close to aesthetic theory, but on the other hand, the phenomenologists really want to talk about all that stuff has happened almost spontaneously and naturally, and does not include an analysis. So the question is like, what exactly will be the function of the beautiful? It's not clear. And yet, this idea, I think that this description of how we go and find a great flower and we're just completely mesmerized by that, this is like the Kantian thing about beauty, and the phenomenological thing that we are just overwhelmed by something that's revealed to us, and it's complex, and it seems like it has very interesting relations between the parts. Some of it is kind of maybe something that can be generalized. I mean, this one is like the complexity of the colors and the relation. Like this one could also really be like, can explain why people thought that this takes us to some kind of a formalism, you know, because it's really about the shapes and the colors. Yeah, but some of them are kind of ugly, and still there is some kind of a fascination there. And this fascination, I think, is really, at least as far as I'm concerned, one of the best arguments that when we talk about phenomenology, we really talk about a certain level of experience that we really have, and that culture is actually full of hints that these things actually happen to all of us, and that there's and what comes out is really the sense of wonder that we can have if we just see some kind of something that unconcealed in front of our eyes, something that unconceals itself for us. That so this basic sense of wonder and attraction to that is not really here. It is a bit like aesthetics, because whatever the attraction is, it's not going to be anything that is like that it is points to our taste or to the colors that we like anyway, predispositions. It's something that we really look at very directly and kind of without much reference to ourselves, to our egos. So in other words, something is streaming strongly from that. So that's kind of the experience. that there's a strong streaming towards us, and we kind of like it, and we want to continue it, and we want to record it in such a way that we will not ruin the nice thing that it's in this episode of Revelation. We just want to continue on, which brings me to the last issue I want to talk about today. This was a question about the relation between the desire to be in the light and the desire to record or to be in contact with something in the light. You know, these are two different things. And the question is about the relation between them. In other words, the first is like the fascination of a person or something to step into the light and reveal themselves, as to go from the phase of darkness to the light. And the other is to find something else that did this phase transition and to kind of follow it and try to transmit whatever it is that you get from that. So these should, I don't want to, so what I just want to say that these two things are different. And in other words, the fascination of the model to be in the light and the fascination of the photographer to record the model in the light. These are the two kind of things. About the relation between them, whether it's like the same thing in two different ways, or these are two really different kind of attractions. I think it's kind of interesting. I don't have a complete answer, but we will talk about it more next time when we talk about portraiture, because it will be a lot more relevant. I'll get back to it, but just to talk a little bit more about it, that in the Renaissance they started excavating Greek sculptures. It was the beginning of archaeology. So they would get like those incredible Greek sculpture that looks so lifelike, you know, that you know, this boy that takes the thorn out of his foot, or they're just amazing. They're just extraordinary. You can still see them in the Museo Nazionale, like in Rome, and the Romans already couldn't do it. You know, the Romans couldn't do lifelikeness, and during the Renaissance, they really tried hard to do it. So I'm saying, so lifelikeness was something like that was once possible to do in the past, and like people lost the ability to do that. Yeah, go ahead.
But is it then related to the topic of copy, like original and copy, to make a?
I think to say lifelike is more than a copy. Lifelike is it's more than simulation. It's something that somehow the easiest way is the phenomenology way. It streams its original thing, you know, something that streams noiselessly the original thing. So there was the boy, you know, taking the thorn out, and then there was the sculpture, like doing this stuff, and then when you look at it, you can go back to the boy, you know, that it's very noiseless kind of situation. So that's one way of looking at it, that it has to do with capturing the origin, which is a bit more than copy, don't you think?
Yes.
Because a copy is static, while well, that's not bad. Thank you. Thank you, Sydney. Yeah. Okay, so I think so go on. Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, I thought about it in terms of modern painting, actually, that there was this big
Issue of the
big
copy.
and
I think that the copy is static, you know, it's like a state. Lifelikeness is more dynamic. It's something that, you know, continues being lifelike in time. A little bit. Like you have a movement, like a drawing. So it seems that the drawing has the flow, not just the state, but the flow inside it. Yeah, but
it's really impossible to do it like this anymore. Or they cannot, nobody can make a lifelikness sculpture anymore.
well, they say Rodin was supposedly the first person who could, and the reason why he could is because he developed the continuous drawing method that we will talk about. Which is very interesting because it ended up, it was not a technical issue, this lifelikeness. It was, what Rodin was saying, you know, he invented the continuous drawing, that you look at the stuff and you just let the hand like roll. And this was, it was immediately clear that this is like, you channel better and you channel lifelikeness. So with this drawing, he went back to the sculpture and then he could do more lifelikeness. That's kind of the story, to make a long story short. So it's interesting. What was missing is not like a new technique with marble or bronze, but it was a drawing, new kind of drawing that made it. That's why it's to call it a technical issue, maybe, but not in the usual way of applying the concept. Okay, very good. So I guess next time will be after Easter, so we will talk about portraiture, like Baroque portraiture.